Hey everyone, I'm Philip Kadir. And I spent 2 weeks working down at ANSTO getting some hands-on experience within an industrial laboratory, learning about the safety procedures which they follow there. Firstly, ANSTO is a government-run facility which produces majority of Australia's radiopharmaceuticals, and they use the neutrons from their reactor to perform a range of experiments investigating materials and their properties. The unique experience of working within a nuclear lab developed my graduate capability of discipline-specific knowledge and skill, as it required me to learn a range of safety procedures related specifically to irradiated substances, the operation of scientific equipment, and general lab maintenance. Before ANSTO, my lab experience had been primarily limited to the uni labs, teaching me the basics of lab safety and having all of the materials ready for us to use. This led me to believe that science labs tended to be quite well organised and have their facilities ready and prepared for everyone to use. Obviously, I was quite wrong about this, because the first task I was given after the inductions was to organise their 4 labs. This involved chemical stock takes, ordering in unavailable chemicals, troubleshooting and running the equipment, general cleaning, and irradiated sample removal. Although this doesn't sound that difficult, the sheer volume of the chemicals that they needed and the range of scientific equipment that I needed to operate meant that these tasks took up a lot of my time there. The irradiated waste disposal was also quite difficult, as it had a very intricate and strict safety procedure associated with it. I believe these were put in place not only to ensure my safety and the safety of those who worked there, but also to ensure that the environment surrounding ANSTO wasn't contaminated with any irradiated substances. Developing these skills and being exposed to the safety procedures within a professional lab are important to me and the development of my career. Currently, I work in a pathology clinic in an administrative role, but hope to transition into their labs. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to get work within a lab without having any previous experience within a lab. Thankfully, through PACE and ANSTO, I was able to develop my skills in operating scientific equipment and expand my knowledge on the industry standard of safety procedures, showing that I'm able to work effectively and safely within these environments. This should improve my employability and give me higher chances of landing these roles in the future. Working in a lab is just as dependent on your own individual work as it is your team working skills. As we're all familiar with, a lab class for a unit is only ever as good as the lab partner you get. If we could all just take a moment to imagine the kind of traits we think of when we think of a bad lab partner. Are you guys thinking lazy, disinterested, disorganized, poor communication skills, or maybe even control freak? Because those are things I think of as well. It's the same with group assessments. If your team members aren't really pulling their own weight or are really difficult to work with, it does slow down the process of that assessment, and it does hinder the quality of it as well. Communication means that everyone's on the same page for the task, with any discrepancies being made clear and addressed by the group. Once all members are satisfied with the direction of the group, the work must then be spread amongst the members. Most of the time, this delegation starts as even distribution, but I'm sure as we've all experienced, sometimes the delegation isn't even. Instead, it's based upon the capabilities of the team members for the sake of the quality of the task. Therefore, it's also necessary that we're flexible within the group, allowing for these things to take place. I've also found it essential to have a deadline for the task well before the due date of the assessment, allowing time for review, practice, evaluation, and for those who lag behind. Group assessments have taught me that breaking down a task into smaller parts makes it much easier to complete. The process which I use surprisingly follows the STAR technique. The situation, or the assessment, is identified and broken down into its basic components, where each is assigned a task or a purpose and structure. Then there is the much dreaded action of completing these tasks, followed by the result. Now I'm sure we're all thinking, wow, that's a great use of the STAR technique, but we're not done quite yet because this STAR technique has a second R, the review component. This is probably the most important aspect of this process, giving all members or the individual the chance to judge their work and make any necessary adjustments before submission. And that concludes my presentation for today. Thank you all for listening, and best of luck with your own submissions.